There's a strange moment on every quantum journey that almost no one talks about. It comes suddenly, often when you feel you're most aligned, most connected, and then, silence. The synchronicities that once felt like breadcrumbs from the universe vanish. The repeating numbers stop appearing on clocks. The chance encounters that mirrored your desires seem to fade, and even your dreams feel quieter. Many people panic here. They think something went wrong. They assume they lost their alignment or fell out of the field. But what if I told you this silence is not the absence of connection? It's the signal that a shift is closer than ever. Think about a symphony. Before the most powerful part of the music, there is often a pause. The musicians freeze, the air becomes heavy, and in that stillness, every listener leans in. The silence isn't empty, it's pregnant with anticipation. In quantum manifestation, the same thing happens. The universe pulls back, not because you're disconnected, but because the field is reorganizing. You are in the pause between movements, and if you can learn to recognize this, you'll stop fighting the silence and begin to use it as your greatest portal. In physics, we see the same principle. Before a particle shifts into a new state, it doesn't move directly from one place to another. It enters superposition, a liminal, uncertain condition where it can be everywhere and nowhere at once. This is the quantum mystery. Uncertainty is not chaos, it is possibility. When your synchronicities pause, you are in that exact space. Your old timeline has not fully dissolved, and your new one has not yet crystallized. You are hovering between realities, and in this moment, the universe is asking you not to panic but to trust. But trust is hard in silence, isn't it? The human mind craves evidence. We are conditioned to look for signs that prove we're on the right path. When the signs disappear, our first instinct is to assume we've failed, that we've lost our connection, or worse, that nothing is happening at all. Yet quantum science tells us the opposite. The moment you cannot see the evidence is the moment when the most is happening behind the scenes. David Bohm, the physicist who developed the concept of the implicate order, explained that the visible world is only an unfolding of a deeper, hidden order. What you call silence is simply the implicate order rearranging itself to birth the next unfoldment. Spiritually, mystics have always known this. The desert fathers and mothers spoke of the dark night of the soul, not as punishment, but as initiation. Neville Goddard said that persistence in the silence is what births the miracle, because imagination works beneath appearances. Even Joe Dispenza teaches that the absence of external confirmation is where your nervous system learns to hold coherence without dependency. You are not losing the field. The field is teaching you to stand in it without needing proof. Imagine the moment before dawn. If you judged the sky only by its darkness, you would believe the sun was never coming. But the silence of night is the guarantee of morning. In the same way, the silence before a quantum jump is the guarantee that the shift is underway. Your higher self is drawing you into stillness, so you can release the addiction to external validation and anchor deeper in your own coherence. So if you're here, if you're noticing fewer synchronicities, if the signs have quieted, if the universe feels strangely still, do not assume you're off track. Quite the opposite. You're in the chamber where transformation is forged. You're in the pause that precedes the leap. And just like the space between heartbeats, this pause is not a mistake. It is essential for life itself. Stay with me, because in the next step, I'll show you why this silence isn't random, why synchronicities stop right before a shift, and how this exact space is where the quantum leap begins. If synchronicities are the universe's way of whispering, why would they suddenly stop right before something big? To understand this, we need to look at both quantum physics and human psychology. In quantum mechanics, the observer effect teaches us that the very act of observation collapses a wave of probability into a particle of reality. Synchronicities are glimpses of that collapse in action, moments when the field bends visibly to meet your awareness. But here's the paradox. If the universe gave you constant synchronicities, your nervous system would never detach from needing proof. You would become addicted to signs instead of to alignment. That is why, right before a major quantum leap, the synchronicities stop. The field is not abandoning you. It's training you to embody your new state without the crutch of external validation. Think of it like riding a bicycle. At first, someone holds the seat for you, giving you balance and reassurance. Those early synchronicities are like that hand, stabilizing, encouraging. But eventually, the hand must let go. The silence is the moment when the hand is released. You may wobble, you may panic, but it is in this release that you prove you can carry your own frequency. Without this phase, you would never master alignment. You would only master dependency. Neuroscience backs this up. Your brain has a system called predictive coding, which constantly creates models of reality based on past experience. Synchronicities disrupt these models. They're anomalies, signs that your consciousness is bending probability. But when a new timeline is about to stabilize, the brain needs time to rewire. In that pause, your subconscious is integrating a new prediction model. To you, it feels like silence. To your brain, it is deep recalibration. This is why many people feel anxious or restless when synchronicities stop. They mistake integration for absence. Spiritually, every tradition echoes this truth. The yogis spoke of pratyahara, the withdrawal of the senses, not as loss, but as preparation for deeper union. Christian mystics describe the silence before revelation as the cloud of unknowing. Neville Goddard explained that you must persist in assumption without any visible proof, because the lack of signs is not the death of your desire, but the gestation of it. Even Joe Dispenza reminds us that coherence is tested when the outer world goes quiet, because that's when your inner world proves it can sustain the frequency alone. So why do synchronicities stop? Because the quantum field is ensuring you can embody the new reality without external props. Imagine if every time you doubted, the universe had to flash you another number on a license plate or send you another random message from a friend. You would never graduate into true mastery. The silence is your graduation moment. It's the universe stepping back and saying, "You already know how to hold this frequency. Now show yourself." There is also a deeper layer. In physics, when a system reaches coherence, external fluctuations naturally reduce. This means the closer you are to your desired timeline, the less noise you perceive. Silence is not the field turning away. It is the signature of coherence increasing. Just like a tuning fork that vibrates steadily once it has found resonance, your life appears quieter not because nothing is happening, but because alignment is smoothing the interference. The trap here is misinterpretation. Most people, when signs stop, spiral into doubt. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe the universe forgot me. That very doubt pulls them back into incoherence, recreating the need for more signs, restarting the cycle. But if you understand the silence for what it is, the signal of proximity, you step out of that loop. You stop begging the universe for breadcrumbs and instead become the bread. You live the alignment even when nothing external validates it. And in that state, the leap becomes inevitable. So the next time synchronicities stop, don't panic. Smile. Recognize it for what it is, the threshold, the pause between timelines, the hand letting go of the bicycle seat. This is not the universe abandoning you. It's the universe trusting you. And that trust is the clearest signal you're closer than ever to your quantum shift. Stay with me, because in the next stage we'll go deeper into the science of why your emotions may intensify in this silence, and why turbulence is often the very sign that your breakthrough is near. Have you noticed that right before a major breakthrough, your emotions seem to spike instead of settle? One day you feel unstoppable, as if destiny itself is pulling you forward, and the next you're drenched in doubt, anxiety, or even despair. This emotional roller coaster confuses most people, and many mistake it as a sign they're doing something wrong. But here's the paradox. The intensification of emotions is not evidence of failure. It's evidence that a quantum shift is in motion. To understand this, we need to turn to quantum mechanics. In the quantum world, particles don't exist in one definite place until observed. They hover in a state of superposition, existing in multiple possibilities simultaneously. Right before collapsing into a single reality, there is turbulence, a field of potential flickering between outcomes. That is exactly what happens inside of you. When you are on the edge of a quantum jump, your consciousness is hovering between two timelines. The old reality you're about to leave and the new one you're about to enter. The fluctuations you feel emotionally are the human equivalent of quantum superposition. You are literally oscillating between worlds. Neuroscience adds another layer. Your brain works through predictive coding, meaning it constantly generates a model of reality based on your past experiences. When you prepare to step into a new reality, this predictive model fights back. Your subconscious throws emotional alerts in an attempt to keep you safe inside the familiar. That surge of doubt, fear, or sudden sadness isn't proof you're off track. It's your brain trying to recycle the old version of you. At the very same time, your higher self is pulling you forward, igniting surges of inspiration, joy, or anticipation. The clash of these two forces, the old brain model and the new energetic alignment, creates the emotional flux you feel. Spiritually, mystics have long described this phenomenon. The Buddhists call it the burning ground, a space where the ego resists dissolution right before awakening. St. John of the Cross described the dark night of the soul not as punishment, but as preparation for union with the divine. Joe Dispenza often speaks about the necessity of breaking through the body's addiction to familiar emotions. Because when you are addicted to survival states like worry or stress, stepping into coherence feels uncomfortable at first. And Neville Goddard pointed out that persistence in assumption means holding steady in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, even when your emotions fluctuate wildly. All of these teachings converge on the same truth. The storm inside is not the end. It's the passage. From a vibrational perspective, emotions are energy in motion. When you're about to jump, your energy field accelerates to match the higher frequency of your chosen reality. This increase in vibration stirs up everything that doesn't match. Old doubts surface. Past traumas echo. Latent fears flare up. Not because you're failing, but because those frequencies cannot cross into the new timeline. They rise so they can be released. Imagine a rocket preparing to leave Earth's atmosphere. Right before breaking free, it experiences the greatest resistance. But that resistance is proof that liftoff is imminent. Here's the secret. The key is not to resist the emotional turbulence, but to ride it. When you push against doubt, you feed it. When you collapse into fear, you recycle it. But when you observe the emotions as part of the quantum recalibration process, they lose their grip. You stop identifying with them, and instead, you become the witness. This is why mindfulness practices, breathwork, and nervous system regulation are essential tools in the manifestation process. They anchor you when your internal weather gets stormy, allowing you to hold the higher frequency without being pulled back down. Let's make this practical. The next time you feel doubt, instead of saying, "I'm failing," reframe it. "This is evidence that my old self is dying." When fear rises, remind yourself, "This is turbulence because my rocket is leaving the launch pad." When joy and inspiration return, savor them as previews of your chosen timeline. By shifting your perspective, you turn the emotional roller coaster into a confirmation rather than a contradiction. The emotional flux is not random. It's the echo of your own quantum leap in progress. And here's the most important thing. The intensity is temporary. Just like a storm eventually passes, these heightened emotions settle once the new timeline stabilizes. The silence that follows will feel like a profound calm, not because nothing is happening, but because coherence has been reached. That's when manifestation feels effortless. So, if your emotions have been running high lately, don't panic. Celebrate it. Recognize it as the vibrational turbulence that proves your new reality is within reach. Instead of fearing the waves, learn to surf them. Because on the other side of this emotional flux lies the collapse into the timeline you've been calling in. Stay with me. Because in the next phase, we'll explore something most people misunderstand. The so-called final test. It's not the universe punishing you. It's your subconscious offering one last mirror of the old pattern. And once you pass it, the leap becomes inevitable. Most people believe that when life suddenly throws challenges at them right before a breakthrough, it must be the universe testing them. They picture some cosmic examiner grading their worthiness. But here's the truth. The universe doesn't test you, it reflects you. What feels like a final test is actually your own subconscious mind playing out the last echoes of your old identity. It's not external punishment, it's internal patterning. And this is why the very challenges you dread may be the clearest signs that your quantum jump is imminent. Let's break this down through science. Your subconscious is like a predictive coding machine. According to neuroscience, about 95% of your daily behaviors and emotional responses are automatic, running on patterns imprinted by past experiences. When you are on the brink of stepping into a new reality, those patterns activate one last time. Why? Because your brain is trying to hold on to the familiar. It generates familiar scenarios, arguments, fears, doubts, not because they're real threats, but because your nervous system has been wired to equate familiarity with safety. This is why Dr. Bruce Lipton often emphasizes that your subconscious programming is more powerful than your conscious intentions, unless you interrupt the cycle. From a quantum perspective, this final test is simply the collapse of old wave patterns. When a new timeline is about to crystallize, the remnants of the old frequency rise to the surface to be observed. It's similar to resonance in physics. When two frequencies collide, the weaker one eventually dissolves. But before it fades, it makes itself louder. That loudness is what you experience as the final test. Spiritually, mystics across traditions have spoken of this moment. Sufis call it the threshold, the place where the ego resists surrender most fiercely. Neville Goddard explained it as persistence. The universe will mirror your old assumptions until you persist in holding the new one. Joe Dispenza teaches that the body, addicted to familiar emotions, will generate scenarios to tempt you back into stress, anger, or scarcity because that's what it knows. In all traditions, the message is the same. The so-called test is not an obstacle. It's a mirror. Here's what it looks like in real life. You've been meditating, raising your frequency, visualizing abundance. You feel aligned. Suddenly, an unexpected bill arrives, or an argument erupts, or an opportunity collapses. Most people panic and think, it's not working. But this is the exact moment when the quantum field is asking, not with words, but with resonance. Will you respond as your old self, or as your new self? If you react with fear and frustration, you reinforce the old identity. If you remain calm, coherent, and faithful to the frequency of your chosen reality, you demonstrate that you've already shifted. And in that demonstration, the old pattern dissolves. Think of it like a video game. Before advancing to the next level, you often face a final boss. But that boss is not new. It's a magnified version of everything you've already overcome. The universe isn't blocking you. It's showing you, in concentrated form, the old energies you are ready to release. If you can hold steady in alignment, the boss collapses and you move forward. There's a beautiful metaphor in alchemy. Before gold is revealed, the impurities must rise to the surface of the fire. They bubble, they resist, they create chaos. But once they burn off, what remains is pure. Your final test is the bubbling of those impurities, and if you recognize it for what it is, you'll stop fearing the flames and start trusting the purification. The practical key here is awareness. When something challenging arises, instead of asking why is this happening to me? Ask, what version of me is this asking me to embody? That simple shift reframes the experience from punishment to initiation. Your old patterns are surfacing to give you one last chance to choose differently. And every time you choose differently, you anchor more deeply into your quantum shift. So let me make this crystal clear. The challenge you're facing right now may not be a setback. It may be the sign that you're only steps away from collapsing your new reality. The frustration you feel, the doubt that creeps in, the temptation to fall into old habits, these are not signs of failure. They are signs of proximity. They are the shadows cast by the light of your new timeline right on the horizon. If this resonates, anchor it right now. Write in the comments, I'm ready to pass the test. Not because the universe demands it, but because you're declaring it to yourself. That declaration is your signal to the field that the old story no longer rules you. It is the conscious alignment that collapses the past and locks in the future. Stay with me, because in the next phase, we'll explore what happens immediately after the test, the energetic calm, the reset of your nervous system, and the unmistakable clarity that you've already leapt. When the final echoes of your old self have surfaced and you've chosen to respond differently, something extraordinary happens. Your nervous system resets. It's almost as if your body exhales a tension you didn't even realize you'd been carrying. This reset is not just emotional relief. It's a physiological confirmation that your quantum jump has begun to stabilize. You move from chaos to coherence, from survival to creation. And if you've ever experienced that strange, deep calm after a storm, you know exactly what I'm describing. In neuroscience, this moment is tied to the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest, healing, and integration. For most people, daily life is dominated by the sympathetic nervous system, the fight-or-flight response, where cortisol and adrenaline keep the body on high alert. But when you stop reacting to old patterns and embody your new frequency instead, your body shifts into parasympathetic dominance. Heart rate slows, breath deepens, immune function strengthens. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this shift moving from survival into creation. It's the state where the body no longer signals danger, but alignment. Quantum physics gives us another lens. Before a system stabilizes into a new state, it passes through turbulence. In nonlinear dynamics, this is known as a bifurcation point, the moment where one trajectory dissolves and another emerges. Your nervous system is the interface that translates that turbulence into physical sensation. When you persist in coherence, the turbulence collapses and your body recognizes the new trajectory as its baseline. That's why the calm that follows feels so deep. It's the sensation of your biology syncing with your chosen timeline. Spiritually, traditions have always acknowledged this moment of inner peace after trial. In Zen Buddhism, it's described as satori, a sudden glimpse of awakening, where everything feels lighter, more connected. In Christian mysticism, it's the peace that surpasses understanding. The language may differ, but the essence is the same. After you've surrendered your old self, you experience not just mental relief, but an embodied confirmation that you are new. Here's how it shows up in everyday life. The argument that once would have kept you spiraling in anger suddenly feels irrelevant. The financial stress that used to send you into panic now feels manageable, even neutral. The craving to chase, control, or obsess quiets down, and in its place comes a gentle trust. It's not that problems vanish instantly, it's that your nervous system no longer interprets them as threats, and when you're no longer broadcasting fear, the field responds with new opportunities, synchronicities, and solutions that match your elevated state. This reset also has a profound impact on your biology. Research on heart-brain coherence, pioneered by the HeartMath Institute, shows that when your heart rhythms become smooth and coherent, your brain waves follow. The result is improved cognition, emotional stability, and heightened intuition. Essentially, your body becomes a finely tuned antenna for the quantum field. You perceive more possibilities, attract aligned opportunities faster, and experience time differently. Less as a linear pressure, more as a flowing present. There's a paradox here worth noting. The calm after the storm may feel almost too quiet. Many people mistake it for emptiness or stagnation. But that stillness is not the absence of movement. It's the presence of alignment. Think of an arrow pulled back in a bow. In the moment of stillness before release, all the potential is already there. The calm is not the end of your shift. It's the confirmation that the arrow is about to fly. If you honor this calm rather than resist it, you'll find it accelerates manifestation. This is why practices like meditation, breathwork, and gratitude rituals are so effective. They teach your nervous system to live in coherence more consistently. But here's the deeper truth. Once you've passed the so-called final test, the calm isn't just a practice, it becomes your natural state. Your body remembers it, your field amplifies it, and the reality you experience bends to it. So if right now you feel strangely calm, even after recent turbulence, don't underestimate it. That calm is your nervous system's way of telling you, the jump is real. The shift has already happened. You've moved from reacting to creating, from surviving to embodying. And this is not fragile. It's not temporary. It's the foundation for everything that comes next. Stay tuned, because in the next part, we'll explore how to fully stabilize this state, how to carry the calm forward so your new timeline doesn't just flicker in, but locks in as your lived reality. By now, you've felt it. The subtle signals, the turbulence, the final test, and then the deep calm. These are not random events. They are the universal pattern of transformation. But here's the part most people miss. A quantum jump isn't just about having a breakthrough moment. It's about stabilizing that new state so it becomes your lived reality. Without stabilization, the shift can flicker in and out, leaving you inspired one day and doubtful the next. True mastery means carrying the frequency of your new self until it crystallizes into your environment. In neuroscience, stabilization comes down to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself. Every time you embody your new frequency, you're laying down new neural pathways. But if you slip back into old emotional habits, the brain reverts to its familiar wiring. This is why consistency matters. Not effort, not struggle, but repetition of coherence. Dr. Joe Dispenza often says, "Nerve cells that fire together wire together." The more often you inhabit your new self, the more automatic it becomes. Eventually, the old self feels like a distant memory, and the new self feels like home. Quantum mechanics mirrors this truth. When a wave collapses into a particle, it becomes stable, observable reality. But until that collapse is reinforced, the system remains in flux, oscillating between probabilities. Your consciousness plays the same role. The more consistently you broadcast the frequency of your desired reality, the more solidly it takes form. Think of it like tuning a radio station. At first, you may catch static, drifting in and out. But once you lock into the right frequency, the signal becomes crystal clear and stays that way. Spiritually, this is what mystics and sages have always taught. Whether it's the yogic principle of abhyasa, consistent practice, the Christian teaching of walking by faith, or the Taoist wisdom of Wu Wei, effortless alignment, the message is the same. Stability comes from persistence in the new way of being, not perfection, not control, just returning again and again to your chosen state until it becomes effortless. Here's the practical key. Stabilization doesn't mean doing more. It means being more consistent in your inner alignment, more faithful in your energy, more relaxed in your trust. The outer world may take time to rearrange itself fully, but the inner world must stay unwavering. That's why gratitude practices, meditations, and daily moments of coherence are so powerful. They keep your nervous system anchored in the frequency of creation rather than survival. Now imagine what happens when you not only make a quantum jump, but live from it consistently. Your nervous system adapts, your brain rewires, your field amplifies, and the universe responds, not just with synchronicities, but with a complete reorganization of your reality. This is where miracles stop being exceptions and start being your normal. You don't just shift once, you learn to live in a state of perpetual shift where growth, expansion, and manifestation are ongoing. And this is exactly why I created something special for you. If you want to take everything we've explored today even deeper, to truly stabilize your frequency, unlock coherence, and embody your new timeline fully, I've written a guide that lays out the 7 principles of quantum alignment step by step. It's called Awaken Your Quantum Power. This isn't just theory. It's a roadmap for making the shifts we've discussed today permanent in your life. Inside, you'll discover how to reset your nervous system, regulate your emotions, collapse limiting patterns, and embody the version of you that already lives in the timeline you desire. You can find the link to access the ebook in the pinned comment below. It's your next step, if you're ready to stop flickering in and out of alignment and finally stabilize your new reality. So let this be your takeaway today. The signs you're experiencing are not random. The turbulence, the calm, the test, the shift, these are confirmations that your jump is real. And now, the work is simply to live from it, to choose again and again to be who you've already become. Remember, you are not waiting for the future to arrive. You are collapsing the future into now. And as you do, the universe has no choice but to meet you there. Stay aligned, stay coherent, And never forget, you are not just manifesting. You are remembering who you really are. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep your frequency elevated, your heart open, and your nervous system calm. The shift is here. You are already living it.